Hello everyone and welcome to another high-elo game of Age of Empires. Today, the quickest horseman takes on the longest shaft as Vinchester, playing as the Cumans in purple, takes on Lewis, playing as the Incas in blue. Now while the players herd their herdables, explore their immediate surroundings and try to get their butts up to Feudal Age ASAP, not a bad time for us to take a look at the Civ matchup that we are going to be watching today. The Cumans, the Feudal Age killers, an incredibly fast civilization with a few super duper cool features. To start with, all of their mounted units move progressively faster, starting in the Feudal 5, 10, 15% faster than Imperial, which does help them better maneuver their unique unit, the Kipchak, a mounted archer unit that fires multiple arrows at once, although only the first arrow does full damage. Now, some Cuman mounted units, speaking of speed, can be upgraded to train in half the time. I'm looking at you, Mr. Scout Line unit, Step Lancers, and Cav Archers. Now, if you want to put some fast early game pressure on your opponent, you can actually build a siege workshop in the Feudal Age, although doing so, you are limited to building and training only rams, or if you prefer to pressure your opponent with ranged and mountain units instead, Cuman archery ranges and stables both only cost 100 wood each, so you can plop down a lot more of them a lot earlier on. Now, if instead of military, you kind of get off on building an economy, maybe some Sim City, some Civ building stuff, you want to boom, 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 well, the Cumans, they can build a second town center in the Feudal Age, although remember, this does take a lot of time, a lot of resources, and pulls villagers off the production line. That'll help them protect their booming economy, their burgeoning military power. The Cumans, much like the Goths, do not get stone walls, although unlike the Goths, their palisade walls and gates come with 33% more HP. Now, who might want to bust through those palisade walls? Let's take a look at Lewis, who seems to have lost control of a deer for a split second there, playing as the Incas in blue, the quintessential counter civilization in this game. Is your opponent going cavalry? Well, you can rely on your first unique unit, the Kamyuk, the longest shaft, the longest spear in the game, an infantry unit that basically comes with a massive attack bonus against mounted units. If your opponent goes infantry, you can rely on your other unique unit, the Slinger. This is a archer unit that comes with a pretty darn big plus 10 attack bonus against infantry, which is something that in the Castle Age is pretty darn bonkers. And if your opponent is going archers, well, you can rely on your skirmishers, which not only get all archery range, blacksmith, and university upgrades, but can also be upgraded to have no minimum range whatsoever, which does take away one of their biggest weaknesses. I mean, look at this animal farm here. Deer, boar, turkey. I don't know why I paused for a second with the turkey. I was looking at the killing of the boar, but basically 3 different types of meat, all in one image. Yeah, vegetarian's not exactly a game for you. Now, to make the Incan army last a little bit longer on the field of battle, no, they don't give Pervitin, no, they don't give Viagra to their units. What they do have is an upgrade called Fabric Shields, where their Kamyuks, their Slingers, their Eagle Warriors all get both extra melee and extra pierce armor that help the Incas build and support their military-industrial complex. Their military units cost less and less food as the game goes on, 10% less food in Dark Age, then 15, 20, and 25% in Imperial. They start the game, for those eagle-eyed viewers, with a free llama underneath their town center, which may not sound like much, but not only is it 100 free food, which in this game, anything for free is fantastic, but it does give you an extra unit to scout the map with. Their buildings, which include their castles and towers and town centers, do cost 15% less stone. Their houses support 10 population instead of the usual 5, which does free up a little bit of wood in the early stages of the game. And their villagers can be harder to raid because starting in the Castle Age, they do benefit from infantry blacksmith upgrades. And by the way, the Incas, they get all infantry blacksmith upgrades, both attack and defense. So those are the 2 civilizations we've got in front of us. I am incredibly excited, not only because of these 2 players, but because we're watching the Cumans. And as always with the Cumans, whenever you're playing against them, information is key. And I absolutely love that Lewis at the 7-minute mark is already on the other side of the map. Is your opponent, I mean, they can change the course of a game so early on. It's not a civilization like, I'm trying to think, for example, like the Burgundians with their Cavaliers in Castle Age, the Bohemians with their hand cannoneers in Castle Age. It's not a civilization that needs to wait before it can implement some of its bonuses. This is a civilization whose bonuses come early and they come in powerful. I mean, siege workshops, 100 wood, archery ranges and stables, second town center in the Feudal Age. So the name of the game when you're playing against the Cumans, in my humble opinion, is you need to scout and you need to know exactly what's going on. The second you hear your opponent rattle his way into Feudal Age, which Vinchester is going to be doing 3-2-1, both players almost simultaneously, you need to know exactly what's going on, because you're either going to get swarmed by a host of Step Lancers and Kipchaks, or you're going to get macroed, pardon me, with a massive economic difference. And for now, the worst possible thing that can happen to Lewis happens as he loses his scout. Forget the first blood drawn here by our Cuman. More importantly, the eyeballs have been plucked out of the Incan eagle, and so he is now completely oblivious to the second town center. Now you might say, come on, Caster, you're exaggerating. Everybody knows Cumans go second TC, so you can prepare for it, you can plan for it, you can try to put on some aggression, especially since, again, Cumans don't get stone anything, and so they're relying on their palisades, which instead of 250 come with 333 wood, which, to be fair, does, add a little bit of defensive protection to the Cumans. It's a little thing where the developers are kind of, we gave them one really powerful bonus, the ability to build a town center in the Feudal Age. Now we're going to give them a second, kind of a smaller bonus, but still a powerful one, where we're going to make them able to defend themselves a little better than the Goths. And now the Goths are meant to be really, really an aggressive civilization. The Cumans, I'm not too sure, are meant to be as aggressive as the Goths, but the lack of stone walls certainly doesn't help. But having 33% more HP on your palisades doesn't hurt. And our Incan is back with a fresh eagle, a pair of archers. He's going to want to penetrate. He's going to want to see. Now, it's a little surprising to me that Vinchester has left a little bit of an open area here. He might want to fully wall in his base just to keep his opponent in the dark entirely. One of my favorite lines in all of cinema is from The Departed, where Mark Wahlberg is standing and giving a pep talk or a briefing with Alec Baldwin. And he says something along, I'm going to butcher the quote, obviously, because, I remember like the outline of the quote, not the quote itself. But he says something like, when I'm dealing with the feds, because there's always the leak is always coming from the feds, who, whatever the hell the feds are, the FBI or whatever. It's like mushrooms. I like to feed them shit and keep them in the dark. And that's exactly how, as the Cuman, you have to play. You cannot let your opponent see the second TC, because when he sees, and if he sees the second TC, Lewis is going to know to ramp up the aggression, and he's going to rush up to Castle Age, and he is going to punish you for taking your villagers off of the production line, for spending 275 wood, 100 stone to get that structure up. And so far, so good for our Cuman. Lewis is kind of, tickling the edges here, not exactly penetrating, and this is where that 33% more HP comes in, which is kind of starting to seem a little unfair, isn't it? And much like the Saracens can plop down a 4x4 market for 75 wood, the Cumans can plop down archery ranges and stables, which are 3x3, but in comes a Jaguar, and down goes the Jaguar. Exciting stuff happening here at the northern portion of the Cuman base, and already a tower defensively going up. Let's see whether or not that shoos Lewis away. He hasn't fully walled this in. Okay, now a house is going up. Now, the situation isn't quite as dire as, for example, with the Huns, who just can't plop houses down. Now, the Huns obviously do get stone walls, but, pro players, one thing they're more allergic to than getting murder holes in Castle Age is spending stone on stone walls in the Feudal Age. I think I've seen that maybe once out of the 700 plus games that I've casted for my daily videos. So the Huns unable to place houses, and not too sure where I was going with that point. The bottom line is, every time I see players using houses as walling off, I always kind of feel bad for the Huns, but probably shouldn't feel bad for the Huns, because what's the mem quote? Huns are Huns, and they are a pretty damn strong civilization. I don't know why I feel bad for them at all. Much like I feel bad for Malay battle elephants who don't have any armor. I'll also remind myself that this is a video game, and so feeling bad for little ones and zeros and little men and women on the map here, probably not the most mentally healthy thing I could be doing. But our Inca is slowly busting his way in. Unfortunately for him, if he lames this wood line, there is still a second one being gathered here. He still, by the way, hasn't seen it. And when you haven't seen it, even though you're heading up to Castle Age in a minute and 50 seconds away, look at the numbers. Look at the villager count. Our Inca is down 17 villagers 17 minutes into the game, and he's only really a minute ahead of his opponent clicking up to the Castle Age, which is a ridiculous thing. Man, the power of the Cumans. What's moving forward? Another small band of an eagle leading a few archers. An individual villager with a hammer in his hand. So, going to be some kind of forward infrastructure in addition to this one house next to the stone. I do apologize. The action started so quickly that I didn't even get a chance to review the map in this particular matchup. But luckily, our Cuman didn't really make it that necessary. He walled his primary gold in. He walled his primary stone in. He's also not the one putting on the aggression. So looking at the Incan side of the map, as relevant as it might be, is not as relevant as it is right now. Not too sure that sentence made sense, but what makes sense is that our Inca is now in the Castle Age, and it is a forward siege workshop. And now, finally, with an archer who is doing a bit of a moonwalk, is he going to discover the second town center? Oh, he's so tantalizingly close. No. I mean, if these were skirmishers, would they have seen it? He sees it now. He sees it now with Bodkin. Bodkin crossbow for the win. Okay, so Lewis knows. I mean, he obviously suspected with that forward siege workshop, but Lewis now has confirmation of what he may or may not have thought was happening in the Cuman base. Unfortunately for him, our Cuman hits Castle Age 20 villagers ahead. Lewis has absolutely failed to punish the Cuman second town center, and now the ball is in Vinchester's court. What the hell will he do? It's going to be a defensive castle. He has not seen the siege workshop. We'll know that there is one now as the Mangonel moves forward. Okay, first volley. Fantastic micro so far out of our Cuman. This is fantastic micro yet again out of our Cuman. Mangonel keeps missing volley after volley. Ooh, got that one though. Couple of dead villagers so far. Another dead villager. So Vinchester kills that scout, loses a couple of his, or not a couple, but a pair, pardon me, not a couple, not a pair, but a thruplet, a quadruplet of villagers now. And oh, is he gonna, if Lewis can deny this castle, it does buy him a bit more time to get more siege out and punish this one town center. That being said, take a look at the bottom left of your screen. Is it really being punished? It is continuing to pump out villagers. And as much as this castle is named, okay, he's going after the crossbowman, a nice little snack. You know, when you go on a road trip, there's a nice little burger joint along the way. You stop, you get a little snack. That's what that crossbow was, but it's... Ooh, what a fantastic volley out of that Mangonel. Is he gonna get another one? Ooh, no, okay. But the mango is safe. Castle stuck at 80%. Blue's repairing his Mangonel. There is a monk here. Our Inca. No redemption. Yet or at all. Okay, that's it. Vinchester says enough's enough. Come hell or high water. I know I have such a crazy villager lead that I can sacrifice 10 of my villagers if need be to get my castle up. And yeah, Lewis is about to lose his entire army, even though the monk, ooh, good get there, getting one of the two enemy Mangonels. But somehow, out of all the units that were underneath the shadow of the castle, somehow it's the slowest unit in the game that manages to evade the arrow fire. Ooh, don't step over the line. Don't step over the line. Lack of ballistics for the win here for Lewis. Lucky, lucky. I mean, twice that monk laughed in the face of death. And now our Inca says, you know what? I got a little bit of a stone discount. I'm going to put my own town centers down. Not too sure these guys have accomplished much. No, 0 kills for them. In comes the Mangonel to clean them up. And by the way, our Cuman's not done. Kip checks are out. 9 villagers on stone. You can tell they're on stone because they're carrying giant rocks. High ground won't save that one crossbowman. Neither will the micro here as a second castle goes up, but a crossbowman tries to obstruct the construction site. And like a 1920s Union buster from the Italian mob, the Kipchak comes in and says, not on my watch, takes a baseball bat, gets rid of the protester, and construction is now under full swing as this forward Incan position, which isn't as scary as it really looked a second ago. I mean, Vinchester with the power moves, sacrificing a lot of villagers. He's down. I mean, Lewis has killed 15 villagers and Vinchester is still ahead, almost 20 villagers. He sacrificed a good number of villagers here to get that castle up, but it was absolutely the right move. Now as Kipchaks are heading onto the other side of the map, they get a villager of their own. Will they get one more? No, their range not that great right now. It is 6. Lewis focusing on getting a second relic home. Ooh, maybe not. I love that this is where muscle memory comes in. He split those Kipchaks as if it made a lick of difference. You know, you're not microing against a crossbowman, you're microing against a monk. They don't need ballistics. They train their sight on you, and their sniper line does not leave. So that was hilarious to watch Vinchester's muscle memory kick in as he split his Kipchaks north and south. And then either way, he still managed to get the monk. How have you been doing? 5 kills for you, all 5 of them villagers, but the towers shoot away. Lumberjacking line, not that relevant with this one. My goodness, that's a lot of lumberjacks. This position is about to get overrun. And by the way, 500 stone for our Cuman, who is heading out with a lot of villagers, but not enough stone for a castle. Does have the gold to buy 200 more stone if need be. I mean, Lewis is settling in for a nice, comfortable relic gathering. These 5 villager kill crossbowmen are dead. And FYI, Lewis has seen the second castle, so he knows he's down villagers, and now he's going to be down militarily as well. 17 army count to 7. And as I said earlier, he absolutely failed to punish the 2TC build. And now discovers a third castle right in his face. Counter castle going up, though. A little bit cheaper for the Incas. 2 skirmishers are the only units here that are holding the line against the Kipchak Mangonel castle drop. Okay, I mean, so far with the monk, they've killed and converted a few. Mangonel's moving back, trying, but look at the micro out of Lewis, staying within the minimum range of the Mangonel, but no, the castle goes up. His castle is lamed and stopped 65%. Oh, he's gonna lose so many villagers trying to get this up, and wow. Well, there you go. There you go. When you play against the Cumans, when you're kept in the dark and fed a bunch of shit, you absolutely are not ready for what's coming for you, especially 2 defensive castles, not 1, not 2, and an offensive castle. 12 villagers inside, 2 outside building a mining camp. And Lewis, ooh, he tried his darndest. He got from 65 to 70, but maybe without the Mangonel, he could have kept pumping in villagers here, but really with a castle full of vills, Kipchaks, it's hard to see how he would have got that castle up. And this is why you need information against the Cumans, so that something like this doesn't happen to you. Literally 30 minutes into the game, Vinchester's population is at 100. He's lost 16 villagers, yet he has a 37 villager lead over his opponent. 70% bigger economy. Man, it sets you back early, but then if unpunished, wow, it's like steroids, like economic steroids, right into the butt cheek, even though our Inca ends the game with 1 more TC than his opponent. And keep in mind, this is the Cuman economy with so many villagers on stone, meaning they're not gathering wood, they're not gathering food for more villagers, they're not gathering gold for more military units. He has such a surplus of villagers that at the 30-minute mark, he's got 3 friggin' castles up and a huge military. Well, huge. Let's say huge with a little h. Where are all the monks, by the way? There's 2 of them here. Okay, one's coming home with a relic. One I'm assuming is out on the map looking at for a relic. And where are the 4 last poor skirmishers? Yeah, they didn't even want to leave. Look at them. They know that it's certain death. Why the hell would they risk their life? Wow. Lewis failing, though he tried. like maybe tried with a little t, tried with an asterisk. He kind of tried, but by the time his army got here, the eagle leading the 2 or the 3 archers here and there, the wall-off was complete double wall-off tower, single and double wall-off tower. And then to the south, you had that thick, juicy forest and a town center. So by the time Lewis got here, it was too late. And I was so excited because I thought that 7-minute eagle that had discovered the Cuman base was going to give him the information he needed. But unfortunately, that eagle died somewhere here. And more importantly than a unit dying, it was the vision that came with the unit. The eyeballs were just plucked out of the Incan military machine. And without military intelligence, you cannot win a war, even a war as simulated and as virtual as Age of Empires. And wow, okay, well, not the longest game, but definitely an instructive game about playing against the Cumans, because the last thing you want to do as your your fog of war, in Age of Empires, it's always a bit of nerves and everything when you're playing, especially on a ranked ladder, especially at these high level games. You don't know what the hell's going to pop out of that ether. And so vision is important, both at home and abroad. And the last thing you want popping out is 10 Kipchaks, a mangonel, and 14 villagers building a castle. And that's exactly what happened right in Lewis's face. And he just did not have the military to deal with this, especially not with 15 Kipchaks, mangonels. Forget the scout. PKPM right in the beginning. PKPM also right at the beginning of the game for both players. And let's see, economically. And this is where you see, as the game goes on, early on, there isn't a huge economic lead. Because again, you're pulling 7, usually 6 to 8 villagers, depending on, I guess, how fast you want to build a TC. It does make a little bit of a difference. You're pulling 6 to 8 villagers to build a TC. They're not gathering resources, etc. And then slowly you accumulate more and more and more. But it's a disparity that grows with time. And this is right about, what is it, about 1,400 resources? If you remove the relics, about 10% bigger economy right now. And then as the game will go on, it'll become 15%, then 20%, then 25%, 30%. It's just something that grows exponentially, and the Cumans just snowball. And the fact that they do it so early just always makes watching Cuman games such a pleasure. But wood and gold for our Inca, food and stone for our Cuman. You think he was the one with the castle discount. 2 conversions, not really playing a role. 4 raisings to 3 is fun to watch always. And how many kills? 50 to 24. Villager kills, our Cuman ultimately does end up killing more, especially in the last, literally, 20 seconds? But killing 16 villagers is not bad. Killing 36 villagers would have been better. It's a random number I pulled out of my ass. But there you go. Even with 16 villager kills, our Cuman ends the game with 88. Ooh, that's a good luck number. Should buy a lottery ticket. 37 villagers more than his opponent. That is, again, a 70% bigger economy just because his opponent failed to punish the second TC, and more importantly, failed to prepare militarily and failed to just have eyeballs out on the map. Once this position was jeopardized, Lewis pulled back. I didn't see a single blue unit anywhere here on the map, any spotting infrastructure, any outposts, any skirmishers, any scouts, nothing. Or pardon me, I shouldn't say scouts. It's the Incas that got carried away there with my diatribe. But ultimately, Vinchester with the early, immediate feudal age second town center that he kept up for the longest time. The economic lead, the military push, and more importantly, at the end of the day, who's kidding who? The decimation of so many villagers as Lewis tried to get his castle up. It is Vinchester who takes the W. But GG in a quick but fun game to both players.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips and make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so that you're notified of my latest uploads.